Yeah, I mean, yeah, like every time I possibly could. Hey, folks, welcome to the Roll Call Room. I am one of your hosts,
Mm-hmm.
Nikolai Chekhov, and with me is the very tan individual that the movie Barbie was inspired from, Mark the Cop. How are you, buddy?
Good morning, and welcome to the Roll Call. Another jam-packed and rare episode of the Roll Call Room.
You know, I feel like we always start these out with like explaining like
why we haven't been around.
Yeah, it's kind of like explaining to like a girlfriend or one that you don't want to break up with.
Side chick,
yeah. Like, hey, the reason why I haven't called. You see, the thing is, and so
that was a whole nother life ago.
That's at least 3 episodes to do, man. Like,
exactly.
Boy, if I could take the wisdom learned from that mistake, holy mackerel!
Wow. Yeah.
Well,
that's why we do this show.
Yeah, you know,
don't do this, guys.
It's kind of interesting because when you meet fellow former officers or current ones,
right,
and then they're like, "Hey, I listened to this show, and yeah, I went through this also," and you're like, "Damn!" At the time I was going through that, I really thought I was like the pioneer. Like I was like, "Oh yeah, overspending, you know, working too much." Doing things extracurricular that you should not be doing.
Oh yeah, because you got to have that hit of happiness.
Yeah, you know, you and I text each other every day,
every
religiously, even if it's just good morning.
Yep.
It is a friendship that I truly cherish because
absolutely
it keeps me centered. Like I can't talk about it, but stuff at work has piled on and hints of law enforcement have kind of peeked through. Still very happy, still love what I do, love where I am. But it's always good to have somebody that's not a part of that world. I've definitely learned my lesson, which is don't surround yourself. And those of you that have already heard this, I'm going to say it again. Don't surround yourself with 100% friends from the job because you never know if you're going to get injured. God forbid. If you're going to get injured, you're going to get pushed out. You're going to say the wrong thing. You're going to get blacklisted, or you decide to retire. The folks that are still in the pool when you jump out of the pool, they're not going to stop having fun in the pool while you're on the sidelines drying off. You know,
great analogy.
I just made that up. That's
the best. That's the best quotes ever.
You know, it's the truth because. I mean, we're a little bit different. I mean, I don't want to sound jaded, and
that's right. Yeah. We're all positive now on the Roll Call Room.
Yeah, I don't want to get any more emails.
We've done 5 seasons of fuck you.
Yeah. What do they call that? The emotions of breakup? Like,
yeah.
What's the emotion of I don't give a fuck anymore?
Right.
That's the last one, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's where I am. Like. You know, like I just don't give a fuck anymore. And I didn't tell you this. So one of the folks that works for me at my new job was like, hey, listen, want to go out, you know, go to the cigar bar with you and go chill out. And I'm all for that. And anywhere where I can go to a cigar bar, I'm good.
Oh, yeah.
So he picked this cigar bar. It was solid, man. But the problem was it was in the city that I used to be a cop.
Oh, how'd that work out?
A lot of anxiety. It happened yesterday.
Still? Oh, really?
Yesterday. This is fresh. And, you know, I text messaged the wife and I said, hey, going to the cigar bar and it's in the city. And she's like, you sure? And I'm like, it's been almost 4 years. Like, I think it's time. And I'll tell you, Mark, coming off that exit, and it was like yesterday. Because we've talked about it on the show, and I think you could recognize this. I don't know the city of Alexandria like you would know the city of like when you drive through there, you're like, oh, that's a pretty building. That's nice monument. That's this.
Oh, yeah.
For you and I, it's, oh, that's where the jumper was. Oh, that's where the homicide was.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's where I had a foot pursuit. So as I'm walking
Fatal
through,
crash.
yeah, dude.
Oh, yeah. Did a death notification at that house. Yeah,
isn't that crazy?
Yeah, your city is landmarks of trauma.
Very nice. Very nice analogy. Really, that's really spot on, bro. Good for you.
Well,
you should
it
be
is.
the co-host of a roll call room.
But I think that everyone that has experienced, the small population that has experienced what we have. So once you've been through your city with your landmarks of trauma, and then you suffer admin betrayal, that's you pile on all that on top of it. That's why you have such anxiety when you get to the city limits. And only thing I can recommend is find a good therapist and get to work.
Yeah. Admin betrayal is really good too, man. You are on a fucking roll today.
I know, man. It's been had it all backed up. It's like we haven't done sex.
You helped me with the you helped me with the sore that I have in my no area. You just admin betrayal and city of trauma.
Yeah.
Fuck, you're good, man.
Well, then thank you. Of course, I got podcasting at its best. My wife must not be up yet because my dog is.
Dude, this is the roll call room. We have cats meowing. I mean, do you not remember the first season of the roll call?
I find my mute button here. Yeah, I know. It's terrible.
It sounded like the Velociraptors were running around. You all can't see this, but Mark literally put the mute button on, and you could see his mouth off. Fucking shut up. Hilarious. But, I digress, which is, I think it comes a point, where you have to kind of face that stuff. Oh, there's a puppy on the screen. Those of you that are not watching on YouTube, you're like, what the fuck is going on?
Maggie was joined us on our last episode of The Shield Within. So,
nice.
Yeah, we had Melanie Palmer in from Cincinnati. So for you, those of you listening in Cincinnati, you have a gem down there of a therapist.
Yeah, and if you're not listening to The Shield Within, you're really derelict in your duties.
No, you need to be listening to the roll call room first. But then when you're done with this episode, here's
my ADHD kicking in. So just so you know from the folks what's been going on in the background, somebody managed to kick us off the Spotify platform. We filed an appeal. We won the appeal. But when Spotify brought us back on, they basically erased all of our partnerships with Apple Podcast and Google Podcast and Amazon Podcast and all these other podcasts. So we had to resubmit.
I'll be right back.
Yeah. We had to resubmit all of our stuff to get back onto those platforms. So if you saw us drop off of Apple Podcast or you saw us drop off of any of those platforms that you listen to, that is the reason why. But we are back on. If you were subscribed on any of those platforms to get an alert for new episodes, go ahead and resubscribe because when it canceled off, it started a completely different account for each one of those platforms. So we apologize, but yeah, it's kind of normal. I mean, we've been put on the no list with Facebook and Instagram and other things, but never has it happened where we've been removed from an entire platform.
Right.
And after our appeal was looked at by Spotify, that will never happen again because we were very meticulous in keeping notes of threats and stuff like that from where this came from. Nice try, APD. Very nice try.
I was going to say, you rattle the cage, you'll get the lion to roar once in a while.
Yeah, Lieutenant Dummy, nice try. Try and do it not with your home IP address next time.
Right.
So
we have files. We know it.
Try not to do that next time. But anyway,
back to the city of trauma.
Yeah.
Or the landmarks of trauma in the admin betrayal city. And I think that gets everyone into the right frame of mind of what it takes. I love your past line of, I used to drive around the city. But now I drive around the city.
Yeah.
To keep that and to keep those I don't want to say waves of anxiety down. And a lot of people, if you haven't been through this experience, it is very traumatic. And I've been out 3 years. I'm just now to the point to where it's palatable, because Dr. David, after we get done with our episodes, there's a wonderful restaurant here in Tip City that it's they don't pay us to say this, but it's Harrison's. A great little quaint place down there. So Dr. David, we usually take our guests there for dinner after the show, or David and I will go there and we'll just hang out and have a couple cocktails and unwind. It was always difficult for me to go there, so I always took the back way in. David usually went to city limits and right down, because there's 2 ways to get there, obviously. So I always go out and around and come up from out in the country and in.
Yeah.
Just because of that. So I think as a sign of healing, and I guess I've been gone long enough that they've had so much turnover there that most people don't know who the hell I am. They know of me. It's like you. They probably got a picture of me on the wall.
I know they do at City Hall. I can tell you that.
This guy is not allowed to be here.
Yeah.
And it's funny, to be basically trespassed from your old agency that you were willing to die for. Yeah. And because they fucked with you, now you are the problem. That's what the funny thing is. But, coming through this, I do have a point to this. Last night, one of my great friends, his wife had a birthday party. We did a surprise 40th birthday party for her. We're not going to say who it is, because which 2 things you don't say about a woman or ask a woman is age and how much do you weigh. So we're not going to say who she is, but we had a surprise birthday party for her at a sports bar here, just in Vandalia Bunkers. We'll go ahead and say that too, since we're giving free advertisement out. Well, while I'm sitting there waiting on them to get there, I'm chatting with her father, my friend's wife's father, wonderful man. And guess who walks by?
Ooh. Police chief?
Yes.
No way.
I see him in my peripheral vision, right? I'm like,
No
well,
way.
I'll be damned. Look who it is. And he's there with his family, and we're sitting in an outdoor patio that's like glassed in, with like the thick plastic, not real glass, because it's kind of like indoor outdoor space. When it gets warm, they put the walls up, so they still had them down last night, although it was 75 degrees. But anyway, and he sees me, but I catch him on my peripheral, and I don't break eye contact with the gentleman I'm talking to. So I'm focusing on him, but I see him, he's giving me the look,
Fuck that guy.
Yeah. Well, I was kind of thinking, well, if you want to make things right, why don't you just come over and say hello?
Yeah.
I'm not going to spit in your face, but, I would be cordial. But
I wouldn't.
I just thought that was funny because I could see he had an emotional response.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you're having an emotional response. I'm not.
Yeah. Well, because you're still occupying headspace. You're still occupying, just like me. Like, yesterday taught me that really I'm only punishing myself by not going in the city, because I'm letting them off.
Perfect.
Because I will be going back in now that I'm going into a new position. I'll be taking folks out for lunch, work lunch and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I am going to go into the city now, because I know one thing, which is that when you're in your uniform, you can't say shit. Mm-hmm. And you're wearing a body camera too. So, like, you have the responsibility to be professional at all times. I don't anymore.
Right.
So, like, I don't know if I admire you that you're like that you can do that. For me, I wouldn't. I would turn around and point at him and go, penis walking right there. Without even missing a beat.
My inner Nick was saying that.
Yeah. Well, and I'm with you. Like, I think so much time has passed. The turnover in your old agency and my agency, like, I'd probably say that they turned over 60 to 70% of the officers at my old agency, because they churn them out. The folks that come to that agency, they're typically folks that can't get hired at other higher profile agencies around Washington, D.C.
Right.
So they go to Alexandria with the aspirations of let me do 2 years and then I could go somewhere else.
Right.
And they're
It's a
just
stepping stone.
Yeah.
So it's a constant training ground. But, Michael Segru, shout out to him, and Relentless Courage. If you haven't got the book, go get it. Michael always talks about his old agency. For a long time, I would never even say Tip City Police Department because I'm not giving them fucking guys any honors or anything like that. But I've recently changed, and that's a part of my history. And while we're recording this is the official last day, isn't it?
Today it is. They head out today.
Yeah, today's the official last day of Police Week in Washington, D.C. I wasn't able to go this year, and it kind of breaks my heart because of mother-in-law wasn't doing well with her health.
Oh, no.
So we had to cancel the trip. But so it was Walnut Grove Police Department's where Segru worked, and he always mentions who it is. And I think it's part of healing. And for a long time when I did my introductions, whenever I introduced myself as an instructor for the past 3 years, I never said where I work. But now I do. And it's like, it's history. I mean, if you go to Google, what's the first thing that comes up? Well, is my bullshit investigation if you Google me. But now, because it goes off of hits, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, now all the good stuff that I do is what's coming up as the first. And it's like the third and fourth. And so that's falling down. So, the gentleman I went to the birthday party with was one of the guys we saved the guy in Hinders with. He was the guy doing chest compressions while I was doing breaths. Well, we brought this guy back to life. And that's one of the stories on there. And when the news media called and wanted to interview me about that, I made the tagline, God put you where he needs you. And to bring that right back here to the roll call room, God put me where he needs me. God put you where he needs you. And at the time, we got kicked out, kicking and screaming, naked and in the rain, right? That's not what we wanted. I want to be a cop. I want to do this the rest of my life. Well, God has chosen us for a different message. And being men of service that we are, and these discussions where we share these thoughts and feelings and experiences, I think this is a great help to people across the nation. And the fact that although we talk about controversial things like the Yellow Brick Prick, which was a great show, it got a lot of attention. It snapped a lot of people awake. Our full-on frontal attack of ICP, guess what? We got their attention. And guess what? There's change being made.
Yeah.
Lots of positive change being made. And thank you for the people that are involved in those associations for listening. And in a way, I kind of want to apologize. Like, I'm sorry we smacked you in the face with a wet mop, but that's what it took to wake you up.
Yeah.
So we do have positive change coming, and they are embracing officer mental health now. And there is next steps being taken now. But when you do that, some people get their little egos bruised, and they went like, well, look at those guys, just like what they do in officers. And if I'm being too wordy, Nick, jump in.
No, you're good.
This is what you experience. And like when Nick and I left our departments, they felt the need to fuck with us to prevent us from getting another job.
Yeah.
There's where we still need change in the police ranks.
And it's still happening.
Amen today, brother.
Yeah. And I can tell you for an absolute certainty, it's still happening in my old agency because I had probably within the last month or two, I had somebody reach out that was like, hey, you know what? It's always the same conversation. It almost feels like deja vu when I speak to them because it's a different person, same story. They're like, when you went through your thing, I thought you were out of your mind. And I said, no, let me stop you right there.
No, they told them. Let me stop you. They told them you were out of your mind. That is not what the average person that looks at these situations, oh, Nick's crazy. Here's his picture. Don't let him in here because he's nuts. No, he's not nuts. He's defending himself. Go.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's kind of like you discredit somebody as much as you can so that the stuff that they're saying, as whether it's true or it's not, people go, that guy's crazy.
Or it justifies why they're talking shit about you.
Where I'll concede is in the beginning, I was enraged with anger. And
of course,
I look at some of the stuff when I first got released, and I understand why the original Mike like took 10 steps away and was like, listen, dude, I gotta distance myself from you. And I get that now, because I probably would have done the same thing, to be honest with you. But what's interesting is the folks that call, they're like, I left the agency. They were investigating me for some bullshit, and I left the agency, and I left. Clean break. It's a clean breakup. Go to apply somewhere else. They call over there, and they completely break the law, completely like they're above the law. Right. They give false statements to potential employers. They make allegations up that are not even remotely close to the administrative investigation. Right. And it's all in vengeance. It's all vindictive behavior. And it's not like the chief that took over for the chief that I had removed is now retired or forced to retire. Another one. Another forced retirement. And now there's this new guy that was from Florida that came over as a deputy chief. That's the interim chief, or maybe he's the chief now. I don't fucking keep up with them anymore.
And don't care anymore.
But I don't care. But he's not fixing anything. Like, he's just, you could tell it's just status quo. He's just an outside guy that's going to come in, and he's probably going to drop the hammer and be like, we're going to change the culture here. And then 6 months later, you're doing the same shit that they've been doing for 200 years. Like it's right. Stupid shit, And to talk about the IACP, I don't apologize for hitting them with a wet mop, because the tax returns speak for themselves. There still hasn't been a public statement as to the money that they're taking in on your back.
Right.
And they're on LinkedIn all the time celebrating, having circle jerks, handing out fucking crystal awards to each other for the dumbest fucking shit, like the shiniest shoes, or I'm making it up, but stuff like that. And I don't think they're dabbling in mental health education, but they're doing it geared towards more of the leaders, and instead of trickling it down, and they're not getting substance. They're not inviting people like Scott Medlin. They're not inviting people like Segru. They're not inviting people like Travis Yates. They're not inviting people like
Travis House.
All these people that are going to sit in a room and turn around and go, you know what the number one cause of law enforcement suicide is? And then just wait for these chiefs to raise their hand and go, divorce, finances, this, that.
And then do you know who they need to walk out? As soon as they do that, bring Jay Clark out.
Yeah.
From Save a Warrior. Bring Jay Clark out to rip your fucking face off and to get real honest about things.
They don't do it because nobody wants to sit in a room with an instructor or guest speaker and be told the number one reason why there's law enforcement suicide is poor law enforcement leadership.
Right.
Your personal relationship outside of work, when it sucks, your outlet typically is to go into work and surround yourself with camaraderie and groups of people that have your back.
Right.
Well, when you don't have it at home, and then you come into work and you feel like you've got a target on your back, that's the reason. That's the reason. And they're the ones that are like, we can't recruit people. I had to laugh. I have to divert for a second. I had to laugh.
Yeah.
I was on LinkedIn. And I use LinkedIn with my new job a lot. Like, so I'm on there, and there was some agency, and I wish I would have wrote it down. There's some agency that took a picture of their recruitment, their police test. It was police test day, and it was a big auditorium, and it looked like there was maybe 20, 25 people in that auditorium, and they were like 1,000 applicants. We got 25 folks to take the test. We're super happy about that. And I turn around, it's like, way to celebrate mediocrity. Like,
we're good is good enough.
We're 25 out of 1,000.
That's the motto here in Miami County.
You go to a strip club and there's 100 strippers. Only 2 of them come up to you and give you a lap dance, and that's satisfactory to you? Like, I don't understand that, man.
I don't understand that anymore. Now, there was a time.
Well, when you have a little person fetish, it works. I think after being away from it for so long, you look at it and you look on the inside, and you understand the insanity. You understand why things are the way that they are. But when you're so close to it, you don't see it. You're like, you bang your head against the wall and you're like, you're worried about a podcast affecting your recruitment.
Right.
Like, I don't understand. I don't understand that.
Correct. And so if I may, Yates is doing recruiting, and that's one of his side gigs, and he's very, very successful at it. And all these departments, and like I said, we talk about the hive, and how they have that hive mentality. We have to do a recruiting video because so-and-so police department did a recruiting video, and it was really cool, and it was that. No, you don't need a fucking recruiting video.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. The best recruiting video was the reality show Cops.
Yeah.
Again, Gary Mullen, if you're listening, please call me. I've been stalking you like a jilted lover. And shout out. Guess who I met the other day?
Who'd you meet?
Well, in the famous Get On It Mel video, there's a young lady at the end of it as they're bringing the pursuit to an end, the little blonde-haired officer at the end, which is Shelly Patina.
Oh, Shelly.
Shelly was hello, and I met her at the Update Academy this week. I was really excited. She's like, "You want my photo?" Because we played Gary and Mel as instead of doing a PowerPoint, it's a great training video.
Yes, I love that video.
And my introduction is, it was really great being a cop in the 90s. Because this is the outrageous shit that we did. So looping it back, I can remember being there in when I come out, like 91 or 92, before I went to the academy, and I'm like, how do we do this? I want to do that job. How do I do that job?
Yep.
And I was talking to the guys that I knew were in law enforcement, like, oh, well, you gotta go to the academy, blah blah. I'm like, okay, how do I do this? So having those positive interaction shows, and your people in media have taken them all off the air. You got milquetoast like Blue Bloods and it's all about drama. I'm like, politics. Fuck that. Yeah, and he took Live PD off, put that back on, bring Styx back, put him back on. I think he's got a new series. I think it's on Fox Nation. We're not plugging for them at all, but that's where it's at.
Yeah.
But those are the shows that I was drawn to public service because I want to help people. No, it was cool shit. This is the cool shit I want to do, which is the cool shit that I'm still doing today because the good Lord puts us where he needs you.
Yep.
But, recruiting videos and having it and actually living the life of having the Blue family, that was that. You want to do something that's bigger than you are.
Yeah.
And thankfully today, we're bringing it back to where we need to start taking better care of one another. We've lost that caring because those leaders have all retired. We don't have those, and I said this last episode, I'll say it again. We don't have those Dick Winters leaders out there anymore. So if you haven't watched Band of Brothers or read the book, pick it up. It's well worth your time. But Dick Winters has basically a battle of wits or minds with Herbert Sobel. And although Sobel had the drive and the ambition to want Easy Company to move forward, he did it all the wrong way. Those guys wouldn't follow him anywhere. Matter of fact, they were all planning to kill him as soon as he got into combat. But those are the things. See, that happened back in the 40s during World War II, and it's all still happening today. But the truly good leaders, and there's more and more of them coming back, Nick, trust me, that have filtered their ways through, just like you said, at your old agency. You got fresh blood in there, essentially, and they're in a great position to be able to enact change. But there is good leaders out there. And those are the people I would like to celebrate more and more. Whereas these knuckleheads, the Herbert Sobels, those are the ones that we tend to focus on. But those are also the ones that need to have the focus on them because we need to just move them along. And that's something that we've been struggling with. And those are the guys I feel that lead to those police suicides. Because like what you were just saying, when your life at home goes to shit, because we do it. I mean, hell, I was the ringmaster in my 3-ring circus when I was destroying my life. And it was destroying my life because I wasn't dealing with my trauma.
Yep.
I wasn't dealing with my PTSD. What's that buzzword? I'm fine. Yeah.
Yep.
How many times do you think you've said that in your lifetime when your life has fallen apart?
Too many to count, man. I mean, I remember right after leaving the agency, people, I didn't recognize what was going on at all. Like, I just was like,
oh yeah,
I think I was in denial for the longest time. Like, I was going to fix the issue and I was going to be allowed to go back. Even after all of that stuff, I was like, oh, I'm going to come back.
Law of Navigation, boys and girls, get this book and read it. I know Yates likes to give Maxwell shit, but the Law of Navigation, we all violated that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, buddy.
And speaking of books, I
Susan,
can't remember.
Did you just do? Hang on a minute.
Yeah,
my lovely wife just poked her head in. It's not my dog, who I had quiet. Say good morning.
Dogs. No, you're good. You talked about the recruitment video thing, and I think it was, I can't. You're fine. I can't remember which book it was that I put it in there. There's a whole chapter on recruiting. I don't know if it's Police Mental Barricade or not, but it's I still see it still today. Like, I'll look at a recruitment video for an agency and it starts out, with the SWAT guys in their, baby Gap shirts that are 3 sizes too small,
Don't forget the jug of water.
Yeah. And the fucking canine, like, attacking somebody, and like all this other, and it's like, stop, because you're attracting the wrong people for the wrong reasons. Like, if the recruitment video gets you rock hard and that makes you want to go apply to that agency, this isn't for you. Like,
right.
They're not showing you the real recruitment video, which is the long mundane days of sitting in a car, doing paperwork, sitting in court. Rain. Yeah, watching it rain, sitting in court after working 13 hours, but again, it's the greatest job in the world. But
and it's the worst job in the world.
Right. But market it correctly. Level set expectations from the beginning, which is, it isn't going to be run and gun all the time. You're not going to get into canine after you get off of probation. You're not going to be a motors officer after 2 years.
Right.
Maybe in a smaller agency where there is, but the larger or medium to larger agencies, listen, you got to put your time in. You got to earn your dues. Like, you got to pay your dues, and you got to work your way up. And I think this generation, and I have kids that are this generation, they automatically want instant gratification. And that is not law enforcement. You're not going to get instant gratification. Like, for me, gratification came probably 12, 13 years after I started the job, where kids that you first came into contact with that were 7 or 8 years old, now are coming up to you in their 20s and saying, hey, I remember you driving around. I remember you playing baseball with us. I remember you playing basketball. I remember you buying us ice cream. I remember. Those are the things that you should be celebrating. Those are the things that are going to make a big impact in the community that you're in. And I think community policing, I mean, that was my baby. Like, from the time I could go to the community policing unit to the time that I left as a sergeant of the community policing unit, I was the subject matter expert on it. I couldn't even do that today if I wanted to, because it is not about community policing. It's about community placating. It is all about community placating and being like, well, we need to have a community policing unit because it's politically correct. No, you need to have it for the right reason. You need to put the right people into position. And you actually have to do community engagement. You have to incorporate the community in.
Amen, brother. And where did we lose that as a police industry?
Floyd.
Right, but so stay with me. We lost community policing because we stopped doing Explorer programs. We stopped doing citizen police academies. We stopped having citizens on proactive patrol. And I just wrote about these in my columns. And we stopped having chaplain services within the police department.
Yeah.
So somewhere, somehow down the line, we've stopped doing all this.
Yep.
But yet we sit around. Now we're going to create this unit because we don't have any community engagement. Well, no fucking shit. Because you, whoever you are in the corner with stars and bars on your collar, elected to stop doing it.
Yep.
And because whatever, when you were a patrolman, you hated going and doing these whatever church talks. Oh, I hate doing that because I hate talking to people. You're in the wrong fucking job, buddy.
Yep.
This job is about relationships.
Yep.
And I was reflecting these jobs are relationships, right? So my daughter, my youngest daughter, God love her, Carol, she can be a little ditzy at times. And she went to work at a local restaurant, and the dishwasher in there. What's your last name again? So she tells him, your dad a cop? Now she starts realizing that maybe this person isn't a friend, right?
Yeah.
And I'd arrested him. And so now she's like, oh, shit, I think I'm in trouble here. But no, then the guy changed. He's like, "Yeah, man, your dad's the coolest fucking dude ever. You know, he took me to jail. He did his job, but, you know, he treated me like a human being and, you know, mad respect for that guy." So that's what relationships are about. That's what, when I say in any of my articles or writings that I do, or even on this podcast, take care of your people. Take care, even the people you arrest, give them a little bit of dignity and respect. Now, you don't do that with everybody. I mean, the street thugs like, fuck you, motherfucker. And it doesn't matter what you say to them. But still, they understand the role, right? And as sergeants, we took care of our people, which is the people we were in charge of, as well as taking care of your people in your community. Yeah. So when you stop with your community engagement, and I love the way you used to say, they would come to me and write checks off my agency, the work that I did to build these community relationships where I'm spending my money to go out into these neighborhoods. And then suddenly they're like, oh, well, you lost a camera. You stole it. No, fuck you, dude. Yeah. I mean, I may have lost it, but I replace it with my money.
Yeah.
But no, now they're wanting to make a federal case out of it. Go.
$1,000 in I mean, I say it all the time. It's no secret. $1,000 worth of equipment that was gone. You can't even put a price tag on the stuff that we were doing in the community. You can't even put a price tag on it.
Exactly.
They're still dusting off old programs that I came up with there and trying to do them like they did.
Because it was good stuff. Yes. Well, because it's great stuff.
They're not executing it correctly. They tried to do Friendsgiving last year for Thanksgiving, and basically, I would invite the entire community together with first responders, and we'd set up one long table about 40 feet long, and it was every other person was a first responder, and the community filled those seats in between. So you were forced to sit with a first responder. They tried doing it this past year. The community didn't show up. They wound up just having a first responder Friendsgiving. Like, it's just stop. If you're not going to do it right, don't bastardize the programs that were very successful. Or, you know what, come up with one on your own. And I'll touch on, you brought up the Citizens Academy. What I see a lot with the Citizens Academy lately is the Citizens Academy is basically turned into a senior living academy. And I know you're laughing because you see it.
You're right.
Every person in the Citizens Academy is typically
my age or more.
Well, yeah, and the thing is that you're not trying to win over a 60-year-old or a 70-year-old that law enforcement is good. That's not your target audience. Your target audience,
love you anyway.
Yeah, your target. You know what? Roll your sleeves up and have a real Citizens Academy. Go to the high schools, start having teen citizen academies, start doing all of that stuff. Be uncomfortable. It's okay to be uncomfortable. You should be able to navigate through any questions that teens have to ask because they're going to ask you. They're going to say, why did those officers kill George Floyd? Why did those officers kill so-and-so? And you know what? If you don't have the balls to turn around and correct their behavior,
correct the lie, number one.
Right. That's what it really meant.
Yeah.
Is you also have to stipulate before the academy starts, we're going to agree to disagree on a lot of facts. And I implore you to do your own homework. Like read actual federal, FBI reports like the,
and if you don't have them, here they are.
Right, like the Michael Brown situation.
And
read that FBI report. No, the one in Ferguson. Read that.
Sorry, I was confusing.
Cover to cover.
Right.
And I mean, I'm not a fan of the FBI, but in this particular instance, they did a phenomenal job with forensics and, blood inside of the Suburban and all this other stuff. And like, there should be no reason why your DNA is on an officer's gun inside of the Suburban. There's no fucking reason. Stupid shit like that, and Trayvon Martin. Like, that has nothing to do with law enforcement, but it gets roped in every single time. Zimmerman should have been convicted for manslaughter or murder one, whatever the statute was there.
Right. But
he was never in law enforcement. He applied to be in law enforcement here in Virginia, actually in the county that I used to live in, and was rejected. He was rejected because he was a fucking donut.
Right.
So stuff like that where it's kind of like, you have to really look at the way that we've been, and I say we, I'm not part of it anymore, the way that they've been doing recruitment and education and different ways to change the narrative. But instead, what law enforcement does, and you can attest to this because you were in it longer than I was, what we do is we typically do the turtle. Times are hard. Times are hard. We stick our head into the shell and we wait for the weather to clear over. Because if you ask all of these top quote unquote leaders, what's your plan? What's your plan to navigate through the anti-police movement? And the answer is it'll pass. It'll pass. We go through this cycle all the time.
Well, they're not. You're exactly right. They're not wrong, but there needs to be a plan of action today.
Right.
What are you going to do? How are you going to I don't want to say overcome, but you do. I mean, it's just like being in sales. You have to overcome objections. If they say it's black, no, it's actually white, and here's proving you that it's white. And if you don't believe that, here's the bleach to show that I made it white. They don't, and you're right, by retracting and not saying anything. And I feel that there's a lack of leadership to where there are some leaders, managers are afraid to stand up and be that Grady Judd.
Yeah.
Sheriff, why'd you shoot the guy 67 times? Because that's all the bullets we had. We just shot him more if we had more of them. And the public loves that. But somewhere, somehow, they're thinking that we shouldn't do our job as the police if there's one or two people that are outraged.
Yeah.
Come on. And like in my day, we'd be like, yeah, go get them motherfuckers. I'm like, you better go talk to the chief because he wants us to be seen and not heard. And they're like, what do you mean? Go ask him. What's his policy on this?
Yeah, I don't want to be another Baltimore. I don't want to be another Ferguson. That's always their answer. That's always
we are the thin blue line.
Yeah.
The buck stops here. We're the person that's going to get your knuckles bloody because you don't want to conform to the laws. We are law enforcement.
Well, and the ones that are listening that are still in it, God bless you. Like I think about you all the time about the restrictions that are placed on you to do your job over the last 4 years. I couldn't do it. And I got to give you kudos because I was one of those folks that was like, I went through the Amadou Diallo thing in New York when I worked for New York City. I went through, all these different things. Like there's so many countless controversies over the time that I was a cop. But this particular error concerns me because you have a generation that see stuff on TikTok and they believe it right away. Like Palestine and Israel. Like these kids that are in this generation, they're clinging to Palestine and they're doing all this stuff, and you're like, you are not doing any research whatsoever. Like,
they don't have to. They're just being paid. They're all paid protesters, and that's where and a lot of that's coming out. And thank God the news media is finally saying, these guys, we trace back the money. It's Democratic donors, and Soros is paying these people to wrap. Well, and it's interesting that you say that because I watched, I forgot what news agency that I watched a video after they broke up one of the university's protests. Right. And the reporter is walking around and seeing the aftermath of what was left behind. And there's boxes of water and boxes of batteries and boxes of flashlights and gas masks. And I'm like, how did these college students afford all this shit?
Yeah, I'm like,
wait a minute. They all have the same green and gray Coleman tents. Who bought all those? Somebody went down to Costco and bought a skid full of them and brought them in.
Yeah.
Those college kids didn't do that.
No, you got to follow the money. And then the other thing is,
the money that's there, that needs to be the motherfuckers that are paying to clean up.
Correct. Right. Well, and they know who the donors are that are doing it.
Absolutely.
And then you look at the folks that got arrested, 99.9% of them don't even go to that college.
And they're in their 30s. They're in their late 30s.
Yeah, it's like you're trespassing to begin with.
Yeah, exactly.
And then these colleges are stupid enough to like negotiate with them. Like
fuck you guys.
We don't want to be punished administratively, and we want more scholarships, and we want, hamburger helper on Fridays, and I want foot massages on Mondays, and these colleges are like, oh, okay, all right. And you're like, these are the people that are going to go into the workforce. Mm-hmm. That's what's scary, man. Mm-hmm. That's what's really scary.
Well, and what they need to do is like they used to do. Fuck you guys. As soon as the shit starts, go and clean them all out and throw them out. Take their cameras away from them. And I think that's why they send so many people out to so many different campuses to find what softies are allowing this crap to happen. And the pendulum is swinging. No, you don't, even though they're trying to overwhelm them as much as they can. But for the people that's still doing the job, keep doing what you're doing, guys. And shout out to our friends at Independence PD here in Ohio. Thank you for listening. We loaded them up with some merch when I had them in class the other day. They were like, "You're Mark the Cop." Yeah, that's me.
Yes. That's always fun. Like when you run into somebody and they're like, You're from the roll call room? Like, yeah, that's
Nick?
me.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's me. That's me. And they're like, oh man, I love your show. I'm like, yeah, thank you. And they're like,
thanks for listening. Here's some merch.
It's so cool. Like, yeah. And they're like, what was it like starting that thing? Living hell.
I'm 7 seasons of proof of on-air therapy now.
Yeah, it's fun to be the reference, the podcast reference of what to do and what not to do.
Oh, so, yeah. Well,
but both angles.
But you were bold in those early days, and that's why Roll Call Room was so outrageous. You were kind of like the cops version of Howard Stern. So, I wanted to listen to the next episode to see what fucking shit came out of your mouth. I mean, I was that Midnight Dog Sergeant, and of course it was funny because they were watching me because they turned my internal camera on. Jeez. And that's all they listened to was Roll Call Room.
Yeah.
Episode after episode. So they listen to it just as much
too.
Probably. And whoever drives car 4, I'm sorry. You have a paranoid person in the corner office that records everything and adds all these cameras because, if you live that way, if you're that guy and at a department to where I need to put locks on everything and, I need everything camered up and alarmed, you're paranoid.
Yeah.
You're in a room full of cops. Why are you that way? And if you're that way, it's because you have the wrong attitude at your department.
Yeah. And if you feel that way, it's time to look. Like, I used to tell recruits that I field train, 5 years is the cutoff. If by 5 years something's not right in this agency, it's time for you to look. Before you vest, it's time for you to look somewhere else.
And have the courage to do that.
Yeah, yeah. Where you shouldn't look is anywhere else to take care of your balls.
Right. That's a good segue in.
Manscaped is the way to go if you want to take care of your balls. If you go to Manscaped and use promo code RCR, was that what it was?
Roll Call Room.
Roll Call Room. Sorry. Yeah. Oof, they're going to be mad.
No, we're going to be mad because we're not going to get the fucking credit.
Yeah. Go to Manscaped and use promo code Roll Call Room, and you get
20% off.
20% off. Mm-hmm. See, this is why Mark is here.
We should write this down somewhere.
I know, really.
I had my script, but it's like everybody's like, "Hey, you want to do a podcast?" But Manscaped's great product. You get the oh crap! I knew I should have wrote this down. Anyway, go in, look at their catalog, go to them online. Great products.
I love their products, not just because
they
sponsor us, but I love them. But like I said before, make sure that if you were subscribed to us on any platform, particularly Apple Podcast and Google and Amazon Podcast, make sure you go back on there and subscribe again because everything got wiped out. So please do that. You can reach me at nick@rollcallroom.com, or you can reach Mark at marc@rollcallroom.com. Mark, what do you got for us to close us out?
I can't believe we're already in an hour.
I know.
It just flew by. We should do more of these.
Yes.
Like 2 a month.
Yes.
And I apologize. It's been a minute since we've had an episode out, but life gets in the way.
Yes.
And meaning that we both have full-time gigs.
Yes.
I don't. I'm actually retired, but I work like I have a full-time gig. Midnight Dogs, welcome. Thank you. I'm glad you're listening.
Yes.
Keep doing what you're doing. I know it's thankless. Like my relief sergeant, I used to text one another on our time off and say, "Hey, how's the rotting going tonight?" I don't work midnights. I rot out here on midnights. But then I went to day shift, and I thought, send me back to the crematorium there on midnights. It's much better than being here on days. We thank you. Remember, everyone, take care of yourself. Reconnect with your non-cop friends, which keeps you grounded and keeps you empathetic. Don't believe the buzz. Don't fall into the hive mentality. Like what Nick said earlier, if someone gives you an opinion of someone else, throw it away like yesterday's coffee.
Yep.
Make your own decisions. It's like with my personal thing, the response from one of the people that was supposedly on the inside, "Well, you don't know the whole story." And the person said, "So tell me the whole story." "Well, I can't." "Why? The investigation's over." Well, he had nothing to go on because it was bullshit. So remember, take care of yourself, your family, your faith, your friends. Get back to doing your favorite activities. That's what's going to keep you human. That's what's going to keep you from wanting to hurt yourself.
Yes.
And if you find yourself thinking, "This sounds like a good idea. I want to canoe my forehead because I'm in so much pain." Bro, reach out. We talked about how a lot of these upper echelons, what are we doing to combat police suicides? Well, unless you're getting a 3x5 card in the mail saying, "Hey man, it's okay to reach out for help and you don't have to do it publicly." Here's some, because when I started my therapy journey, I never told a fucking soul. I sat outside Dr. David's office with sunglasses and a hoodie on, looking around, making sure no one was watching me so I could go in. Because my biggest fear was I would run into another first responder that knew me. "Mark, the cop's going to therapy." You can go and pay cash and then have your insurance company reimburse you for out-of-pocket expenses. Go. The hardest step of therapy is starting it, is making the decision. Reach out, find a therapist that's willing to give you 15 minutes to see if it's a good fit, like Melanie Palmer in Cincinnati. She offers that right on her website. You can find her through Psychiatry Today. Molly Hall here in Dayton, Ohio. I'm sure if you reach out to Dr. David on The Shield Within, he will find you someone in your area. That's what we do. That's the purpose of that show. That's the purpose of the Roll Call Room, is to keep you happy and sane. A lot of people said, "Well, we go to the Chiefs," and the Chiefs said, and I can tell you, and Nick can agree with this, when I was hurting and in crisis, was the Chief the first person you was going to go talk to, Nick?
Fuck no.
Fuck no. That's right. And you're going to talk to peers, and hopefully your peers have your confidence. I've had a peer that betrayed me. "Oh, Mark's ready to eat his gun." What the hell are you talking about, dude? You misunderstood me. And get that help. And remember, at the end of the day, this is the greatest job in the world. I loved being a cop until I didn't. And I didn't make that decision. That was made for me.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself. And remember, at the end of the day, it's just a job. You were looking for a job when you found that one. Remember that. Keep your finances in check so you're not a slave to the job. A lot of people's like, "Oh, I can't go anywhere because, I don't know what I can do to make this kind of money." Prepare yourself. Right now you make a lot of good money because that's where the industry is, but it hasn't always been that way. I can remember I thought I was making big bucks when I got promoted or got a pay raise to $18.60 an hour. I found a paycheck the other day. I'm like, fuck that. Hell, the guy changing oil down at the local Ford dealership makes that kind of money.
Mm-hmm.
But take care of yourselves, and thank you for listening.
All right, everybody. See you on the next one.